I'm here in Cuyahoga Valley National Park to talk about how many elements are there in a prima facie case for negligence. How many elements of negligence are there? There's many good answers to that question. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0. I've heard people say that all of those are correct. A lot of people teach that there's 4 elements of negligence: existence of a duty, breach of duty, causation, and injury. You know what elements are?
I bet you'll tell us.
It's really just a checklist of what you need for a prima facie case for negligence. My go-to list is that there's 5 elements of negligence: existence of a duty, breach of duty, actual causation, proximate causation, and injury. You could say that there's 3 elements of negligence. That would be breach of duty, causation, and injury. It could be as detailed or not detailed a checklist as you really want. It's up to you. I've heard some people say that there's 6 elements of negligence: existence of a duty, a relevant standard of care, breach of duty, actual causation, proximate causation, and injury. Who would use that checklist?
I don't know.
You, when you're answering an essay exam in your torts class or on the bar. You, when you're an attorney making a discovery plan to figure out how you're going to prove the elements of negligence at trial, or how you're going to rebut the plaintiff's proof of the elements of negligence at trial. The court, when the court's considering, for instance, a motion for summary judgment to see whether the plaintiff has proved all of the elements of negligence to be entitled to summary judgment, which would be pretty rare in a negligence case, or a motion for summary judgment for the defense to see if the defense has been able to show that there is no genuine issue of material fact with regard to one of the elements of negligence, which would be essential to a negligence case, which means that the negligence case can't work, so there's no reason to have a trial. I've even heard of people saying that there's 2 elements of negligence: breach of a duty that caused a harm. You could also be using the elements of negligence as a checklist when you're answering multiple choice questions. Even on a closed book exam, it'd be a mental list. There was a television show about that, the mental list.
Tonight on CBS.
When I go to the store, I need milk, toilet paper. What was the other thing?
The mental list.
Now, if you have duty and breach of duty broken out as separate elements, then where do you decide what the relevant standard of care is? Like if you're going to use reasonable person or something else like special standards for bailments. Some people put that analysis under the duty element. Some people put it under the breach element. Either way's wrong. How many elements of negligence are there? You know, you could even say that there's 0 elements of a negligence cause of action, because really elements are just kind of artificial. It's a synthetic way of trying to break down a whole bunch of precedent that's sprawling all over the library, all over the case reporters, different cases, talking about why a negligence case does or doesn't work in a particular fact situation. I know someone who they actually weren't onto this idea that negligence could be broken down into elements until they were studying for the final and found it somewhere in a commercial outline, because their teacher didn't break down any of the torts into elements.
Hypo time.
If I'm analyzing a set of facts to see if there's a prima facie case for negligence, I can speak of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 elements, and I can analyze what standard of care to use either under the duty element or the breach element, and none of these approaches can be definitively said to be wrong in the greater scheme of things. Is that right? The answer is yes.
Follow-up time.
But in all honesty, even if others aren't wrong, Professor Eric E. Johnson's preference, which is 5 elements: duty, breach, actual causation, proximate causation, and injury, in your scholarly opinion, isn't that more right than what other people say? The answer is yes.